So, do you remember what we discussed last time?
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys
Detached.
revised anything at all?
I'm hiding.
I'm
Billu
hiding.
knows.
No, you
Billu
haven't.
knows.
You
I know
Oh no,
must.
Billu
I've
knows.
been very busy, Diti. I've had no time at all.
That's true too. She's been busy.
There's no time to scratch a head
Does
also.
not comment. Shit.
No, but I do remember little that what we said was that we should focus and not get attached, and attachment brings this and then bring anger and then all those things. And once that is there, but yeah.
Generally, you
So
remember.
till anger, till but that fit is fine, but then anger should not be there because that messes up everything. So
Right,
once you
Anger
get
gives
anger,
illusion.
then you lose
Illusion.
your wisdom, then
right.
you lose your senses, then you lose your wisdom.
Right.
So, what was the first step in the process? The
Attachment,
diagram.
attachment,
Desire.
No. Huh?
Desire for something.
No, no. The
desire.
first one. The very first one. Dwelling upon something.
Think when you
Mm.
think about something too
Yes,
much.
you dwell upon. Dwelling on an object. When you dwell upon an
Yeah.
object, anything you dwell on, right?
Then you get attached.
You get attached to that.
Once you get attached, then
Once you get attached, that causes
desire.
desire. Yes. Oh, I think Meeta is joining. And then,
Desire causes
hi, Meeta.
anger.
Yes. Hi, Meeta.
Hi, Bhaiya. Sorry,
How
not
are
used to
you?
joined a bit late.
No, no, no.
Realized.
That's okay. Can you
Good
see
morning,
everybody?
Tisha.
Yes. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
Mita.
So there's
Fine.
Billu, Madhu
Yes.
Didi, Kiki,
Mm.
Oh, so
Madhu
mm,
Didi and Suresh Bhaiya. Suresh Bhaiya can't be seen, but he's there. I can see him,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, you take one.
And
Yes,
you.
it
And Meeta and Rupa couldn't join this week because Meeta is traveling and
Yeah, yeah.
Rupa had to go to a puja.
Okay. Okay.
So, but I'm glad that you joined. So we are now a full quorum again.
I hope to make some sense of it going forward.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll just join. You're joining in the middle, so it'll be difficult in the beginning, but you'll soon kind of get up to speed.
Great.
And I'll send you some videos also that you can watch. That will
Okay.
also bring you up to speed.
Sure.
So,
That's great.
your ample leisure time.
क्या दीदी?
Sorry.
I'm so sorry. In your ample leisure time.
Oh, in your ample leisure time. Yeah. Didi is very busy, that's why.
No, no, no. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. How can
Didi,
I be busy? The
okay,
most retired person.
okay. So, Billu, you were telling us, so Billu was giving us a recap of the last lecture. We were just going
Oh, but
through
that's it. I
what
don't
we
remember
discussed
any
last
further.
time. And I was surprised how much these guys, they all remember. Honestly, I would have thought that they would have forgotten. So, so let me just pull that up, okay? Because you'll see how close you were to the actual thing.
You don't know what you're talking.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Meeta, we were discussing this last time, in the Gita.
Okay.
It says that if you dwell on objects, any object, then that causes attachment. So anything that you're dwelling on causes attachment, and that attachment leads to desire. So you want that thing. And if your desire is not met, which usually happens, we have many desires, not all of them are met. Some of them are
Yeah.
met, most of them are not met. So that causes anger. And once there is anger, then we forget. We stop being objective. We lose our access to our memory, which means we lose our wisdom, which is in our memory, and basically we are no longer karam yogis. We are no longer sane people. We behave like animals. That's what Gita says. So the important thing is to be careful what you are dwelling on. The more you are dwelling on material things and desires and so on, the more you're spending your time doing that, the more likely you are to get angry and the more likely that you are going to get unhappy. So be careful what you dwell on. That's the very short version of what we went through last time. And Billu remembered and she was trying to recap it for us. Right, Balu?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, so should we just continue from,
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah? Okay.
Yes.
So, Meeta, you'll get the hang of it. Just for
Yeah.
the first few minutes, you'll be a little out of place. And you'll get the hang of it
Okay.
because
I
one of the shloks that we are going to do today is actually requires us to go back, uh, and we'll do that. So that'll be a nice summary. It's a good day to join.
okay, cool.
Okay. So we had finished till 267 last time, and now we had the last five shloks of the chapter, chapter two. So the first one he's saying here, 268, he's saying Tasmat Yasya Mahabhava Nigrihitani Sarvashah Indriyani Indriyabhyah Tasya Pragya Pratishtha. So he is summarizing what he had been saying so far, which we've been talking about. He's saying, therefore, that person, Mahabaho or Mahabaha, is the one name of Arjun. So he's addressing Arjun as Mahabha, meaning like somebody who has Mahabahu, who's very strong. Bahubali. He was a Bahubali. Okay. So he's saying, therefore, Arjun, the one who can completely withdraw Nigrihitani Sarvashah, meaning withdraw completely, Indriyani Indriyabhyah, matlab withdraw his senses from sense objects. His pragya, his knowledge is pratishtata. So he's saying the one who can completely master his senses, who kind of can control himself, control his desires, control his reaction to things around him, who has achieved that state, only his knowledge is solid. So you'll see this again and again. Gita says this, the importance of Karam Yoga. Because Karam Yoga is what gives you that situation where you can control your senses. You're not a slave of your senses. Okay, so nothing new here. It's just a summary of everything we discussed last time in the last 3-4 sessions. But then he goes further in the next shlok. And this is a very important shlok. I mean, like a very well-known shlok. And he steps back and says, here's the essence of what I told you. He makes a comparison between a person who's a jnani and a person who's not a jnani. Okay? So he says, Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti samyami. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam means for sarva bhutanam, bhut means being. So sarva bhutanam, all beings. Sarva bhutanam, for all beings. So that which is nisha, nisha means night. That ya nisha, that which is nisha for sarva bhutanam, for all beings, tasyam, in that, jagarti samyami. The wise people, the people who are jnanis or who are yogis, they are awake in that. That means whatever is night for the people who don't understand, who are the samsaris, the wise person is awake in that. And I'll explain this to you. Yasyam jagarti bhutani. So bhutani is the same thing. Sarva bhutani means people, in which people are awake. Yasyam means in which. Jagarti bhutani, in which people are awake. Sa nisha, that is night for pashyataha munehe. So pashyataha means the one who is seeing. Muni is a wise person. So for the wise person who can see, who has, they say na, you have the third sight, you can see. So the wise person can see, for him it is night. And It's basically saying that they're two different worlds altogether. Like the way that a samsari looks at the world is completely different from the way a jnani looks at the world. And that is why when we read the Gita initially, we find it so difficult. We can't relate to what it's saying because it's a completely different way of looking at the world. So I'm going to shut this thing off. I mean, stop sharing it because now let's talk about this. Okay. So I think to really understand, let's go back to the beginning of chapter 2 to really understand this. So you remember what is the key message of the Gita? You remember right in the beginning we talked about it. What is Gita all about? Anybody?
Self-discipline. My point of view is that how do you get happiness and self-discipline?
Absolutely. Brilliant. Gita is the book of happiness. Gita is the book which says it gives you an understanding of how to lead a happy, meaningful, self-satisfied life. A life where you are in harmony with everything around you. You do the right thing, you have the right expectations, and you're at peace. It is possible to live a life like that. It's possible to live a life where you have santushti. And the reason why Gita is so popular and for so long is because it tells you how you can do that. And it's like everybody's dream, everybody's desire is to lead a life like that, where you're not stressed, you're not anxious all the time. You feel that every moment is meaningful, that you're happy with yourself. You're not unhappy with yourself. That is the most important thing. So that's what Gita is about. And in a very, very like broad way, tell me anybody remembers how does Gita say and why does it say that it's possible to lead a life like this? What is its message for how to do it?
Know that what you are seeing is not reality constantly, and
Right.
that your atma is constant, and what you're seeing is basically mithya.
Correct.
So
So
you're
the one, yeah,
clinging to that, but that's not what you are.
yes. I think the one big thing it says is that we don't realize, we think we are this mind and body. This is all we have, our possessions, our mind and body. We don't realize that what we have inside us, our atma, which is our which is our reality, what we really are, is infinite. It's full. It is not lacking anything at all. And so Gita says, first of all, be aware that this is your reality. Be aware that there is an Atma, which you can't see, but it exists. And it is that Atma is a happy Atma. It's a full Atma. If you get in touch with that Atma, you will access the happiness. You'll be happy. Right now, you think you want this, you're missing this, you want this relationship, you want this money, you want this and that. All these things you think you want because you feel without those things you're incomplete. Right? You can imagine if you take the most important relationships in your life, imagine if they were not there, you'd feel incomplete without them. You'd feel completely miserable because you feel that you need those things to complete you. What Gita is saying is that is not true. That is your Brahma. Because you feel like that because you're not aware of your own Atma, which you already have. You're not aware that that is fullness itself. You really don't need anything else. Yes, you may want other things, and the other things may give you pleasure, and that's a great thing. But if you know your own Atma, then then you are secure in that knowledge. You don't need anything else. So this is all good and fine. But the problem is this, I can we can sort of understand this intellectually. Okay, Gita says it must be true, but we are so far removed from that, so far removed that we have no idea whether this is real. whether I can be in touch with that Atma. How can I, poor me, be in touch with that Atma? So for that, Gita gives you the second part of its message. The first part of its message is you're totally complete. The second part of his message is how do you get there? And that is Karma Yoga. How to get to that state is Karma Yoga. So anybody knows what Gita says about how to get there? Karma Yoga? Billu, you want to say what Karma Yoga is? Just very
Yeah.
big
To
picture.
have one focus, to
Yes.
concentrate on that,
Yeah.
then to not be, no, not care about the results, but not
Right.
be inactive and just sit lazifully and
Right.
slothfully.
Yeah. To have Samanvay. To have Samanvay. You remember what Samanvay is?
Yeah,
Equal,
same thought.
same. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, like
equal.
sameness in all situations.
Also, yeah.
Right? And Kaushalam is to know what is the right thing to do the right thing. Right? So Karma Yoga is basically what Karma Yogis are is that you try in your life itself, even though you don't fully understand this Atma business, you heard it, but you don't really get it because you can't see the Atma, right? If you don't see something, if you don't feel something, it's hard to get conviction in it. You can't get conviction in something that you can't see and feel. So the way to get there is to try with Karam Yoga, meaning in your life today, where you are, start small, but start applying this thinking. Start saying, okay, for this particular thing, for this one thing, I am going to stop expecting. I'm going to do something without expectation because I believe that God will take care of things. God will take care of me. So I'm going to just start doing this without expectation. And slowly
Sorry.
you'll find that, you know, it's not bad. You know, you didn't get crushed because you didn't think about what is in it for you. You didn't think like this, what's in it for me? You were quite happy giving. You were quite happy doing without getting anything back. And that builds your confidence that yeah, maybe what Gita is saying is right. Maybe I don't need all these things to be happy.
इसको करने
And
आते
and that confidence gives you, you can by that you can then do more. You become slowly it snowballs and you become a karam yogi. You start getting control over your senses. The reason we don't have control over our senses is because we are pushed by our desires. Our desires are so strong and we feel they're so important to our happiness that our life gets overtaken by these objects meaning relationships or possessions or things like that. They overtake our life. So that is what Gita said, right? That is the main message of the Gita. And this shlok, literally, it further reinforces that message because it's now saying that the two, the samsari and the Jnani, the Gita is trying to move you from samsari to Jnani. And the two are completely night and day. So, for example, let's now say for a samsari, what is the reality for a samsari? You remember at one time, some days ago, you were also a samsari. Today, you're on a track to Jnani, but you were a samsari. What was your reality when you were a samsari? What did you think is real? What was life all about? Hmm?
About things, about objects, about relationships,
Right.
about everything that you feel is yours or you want.
So your reality,
Possessions.
absolutely. So what was your reality, or what is your understanding about yourself? What do you think? What did you think you were? You were a Madhu Didi. So you were a limited person who were housed in this body, and you had a mind. When your body, if you broke your like shoulder bone or injured it, you'd say, I got injured. The pain is very real, it's me. When when you had a grandson, you felt, my grandson, right? It's like there's a big possession. So you had a very strong opinion about yourself. You knew I'm Madhu, but I'm not Meeta. There's a difference between me and Meeta. I love Meeta, but Meeta is Meeta, I'm me. Even Suresh Bhaiya, Suresh Bhaiya, I'm me. Right? So whatever it is, we had a perception about reality. And our version, our understanding of the world was also the world is full of things. And I am interacting with those things. How I interact with those things determines my level of happiness. If I learn how to interact well with the people around me, I'll be happier. I have to give and take. If I learn how to interact, if I get possessions, I'll be happier, more secure. To become more secure, I need more money. I need better possessions. All that. So our life was all we see and feel. That is our life. That's our reality. Whatever we can see, whatever we can feel, that's our reality. That's the state of a samsari. What did the samsari experience? The samsari experiences dukh and sukh. When things go well, things go your way, you get what you want, you feel momentary happiness. For a time, you feel happy. You have desires, your desires are met, people are doing what you ask them to do, the world is behaving like you want it to behave. You have the right president, you have the right you have the right leaders in the world. Uh, everything is going well. Um, uh, your husband is behaving himself. He is caring for you and loving you. Billu, you can mute if you want. You can just mute your thing.
No, no, I'm just telling Rajiv to be out when he's talking. I can't hear
Acha, acha.
otherwise.
Okay.
Mm.
So you can, so all things are going well, you feel happy. But that happiness is not forever, for a while. Then something else will come up and make you unhappy, right? With all of us. We'll get something which didn't go our way, which will either lead to unhappiness or lead to anger or something like that. So our world was full of, or our world is full of sukh and dukh. As Swami Dayanand said, it's not sukh, dukh, sukh, dukh, sukh, dukh. It's sukh, dukh, 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 sukh, dukh, dukh. So much more dukh than sukh. Okay, let me see if I can mute Billu. Okay, Billu, you're being muted. All right. So, so that's what the world is. World was like for a samsari. That's our world. That's what we experience, and we are all very familiar with that world. It's very well known to us. When Gita says this is not so, we are. It's only because it's Gita we are even willing to listen. Otherwise, we'd completely discard it out of hand. We'll say, "What is this person talking about? He has no clue what he's talking about. Live my life, and you will see what life really is." But because it's Gita and because it's Bhagwan Krishna, we say, "Okay, let's listen." But slowly we also change. So what does Gita now say is the reality of a Jnani? What is it possible to be? So so maybe Kiki, you can tell us what is the reality of a Jnani?
That my self is Atma, which is the one, which is everybody's self, and I am, in fact, the fullness I seek. And I am the world is not the substance of the world is the same as my substance.
Right. And in terms of experience, what's the experience of Sukh and Dukh?
That there is joy and sorrow, but not sorrow that is so deep that it's that it causes despair. Like there is a difference in it's not like a jnani doesn't have any sukh dukh, but the dukh is not intense enough to cause real suffering
I would say Jnani doesn't have Sukh Dukh. The Sukh Dukh is very much on the surface. What Jnani has,
on the surface.
what Jnani has is santushti, is what is it called? Last time we used that English word, tranquility. That's a constant tranquility which is always there.
But the
So,
Jnani could also feel appropriately sad if, some child gets like whatever
okay, that's not what Gita says. Okay,
oh,
Gita doesn't say that Jnani feels sad. So the question is what you can always you'll always have a range of feelings. There's no lack of feelings. But the most important thing is what you're missing in this is that there is tranquility. The feeling is tranquility. It's not about whether he has sukh or dukh or not. The important thing is that the Jnani has tranquility. And a samsari does not have tranquility. If the samsari has tranquility, it's for a very limited period of time. It's like a flash in the pan. You can count the moments in time that you have tranquility. That's why it's night and day. It is actually night and day. Right? In other
night and
words,
day is metaphorical, right? That's how
yeah,
it's used.
metaphorical, but it's the metaphor has been used as night and day.
Yeah.
Two extremes. Krishna Bhagwan had a choice of metaphors to use, but he used this metaphor, right? So what is night? What is night for a samsari? Like simply put,
Where is all problems and
yeah,
despair.
what is it that the samsari doesn't know, that the samsari doesn't see? It's darkness for the samsari. That is Atma. So for a samsari, Atma is night. In other words, night में कुछ दिखता नहीं है ना. So he's in the night when it comes to Atma. He doesn't
What
know
you're
the
saying then
Atma.
is that he does not realize that there's a light within himself. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. He doesn't realize his own nature, his own truth. That is the major difference. The whole, for Vedant philosophy, it's actual, like if you can boil it down to one thing, what is Vedant saying? It's trying to introduce you to your Atma. Because Atma cannot be seen, it cannot be felt, you can't think about it. It's not accessible. It's not accessible to anybody, to our senses. So the only way to know about it is if someone tells you, takes you and points you to that and say, hey, this is your Atma. You never saw it. You didn't know it. Vedant does that. That is basically it's called the Samanvay of Vedant. That is what Vedant is all about. And in a way, that's what Gita is all about too. Krishna Bhagwan is trying to introduce you to your own Atma, which always existed, which is always there. Why? Because the samsari is blind to it. The samsari has no way of knowing it. So for samsari, he is in night. When it comes to Atma, he is in a state of night. Right? It's a night because रात को कुछ दिखता नहीं है. But for a Jnani, whereas Atma is concerned, it's bright daylight. Not only is Jnani aware that there is an Atma, Jnani sees Atma as the basis of everything. He sees Atma more clearly than he sees the objects in the world. And he sees Atma more surely than he sees the objects of the world. So Jnani is, if the Jnani ko pucho, can you see this cup in front of you? How sure are you that this cup exists? Jnani will say, I'm not 100% sure. Could be there's a problem with my eyes. Could be I'm hallucinating. There could be many different things. I'm not sure. This cup is not me. I'm not sure. It's far away from me. Maybe I've got some color blindness. So मैं सोचता हूँ ये green है, but actually it is. I hope it is green. I'm not colorblind, but whatever, right? But you ask Jnani, what about Atma? He says, I'm 100% sure. Atma is there. There is no denying the Atma. So Jnani is less sure about the world, more sure about the Atma. A samsari has no clue about Atma. And he's sure about the world. He says, I'm pretty sure that my happiness comes from my wife or my husband. I'm pretty sure that my son is the reason for my happiness. I'm pretty sure that if I have money, I'll be happy. If I don't have, I'll be unhappy. Right? So that is why it is night and day. Now, what is day for the Jnani and what is night for? There also I just said, what's day for the Jnani is this world of separateness. That's day for the Jnani. I mean, for the samsari, the world of separateness. The samsari is pretty sure that this world exists. And he's pretty sure that this world is like I exist as this body. One day I'm here, tomorrow I'll be gone. In that in this life that I have, the limited life, the limited time, I have to interact with the world, make the most of it. The sukh and dukh is very much I'm aware of all of them. They are day for the samsari. They're day because this is what samsari's life is all about. But these things are night for the jnani because they're meaningless. For the jnani, this sukh and dukh, this possessions, the separateness, you being separate from me, all this is night for him. In other words, he doesn't see these things. But what does he see? He sees Atma. He sees the connectivity, the one thing which is in which all these things arise. That is Atma. That's what the Jnani sees. And what is also day for the Jnani is tranquility. And that tranquility is night for the Samsari. So why is it that all of us, we want to study Gita? Why is it that we want to learn more? Like, what are we seeking?
Happiness,
Hmm?
tranquility. Happiness
Tranquility.
and tranquility.
Tranquility, exactly. Actually, it's not even happiness, it's tranquility that we are seeking. We may not be aware of it. We may not know it. If somebody asks you, what are you seeking? You may say, oh, I don't know. Maybe, Gita will give me something. I feel like something is missing in my life and I want that from the Gita. But what is it that's missing? Your goal has to be very, very clear. What are you seeking? I remember once I had gone to a Swamiji in Delhi, long back. So mummy and I, we went to Mathura, Vrindavan mein. So मैं स्वामी जी के पास गया. I was like young fellow. मैं सोच रहा था like in my I think I was in my 30s, late 30s. मैंने कहा मुझे बताओ क्या है ये चाहिए. So then the Swami he asked me. He said तुम क्या. मैंने उसको कहा मोह माया ये बहुत बहुत मुश्किल है. He said तुम क्या ढूंढ रहे हो. What is your goal? So मैंने कहा मुझे नहीं पता. He said you have to be very clear about your goal. बिकॉज अगर तुम खरगोश के सिर पे सींग ढूंढ रहे हो वो तो तुमको कोई मिलेगा नहीं. सो लाइक अगर तुम भगवान ढूंढ रहे हो, मेरे को भगवान के दर्शन चाहिए, मे बी मे बी नॉट द वे दैट यू थिंक अबाउट भगवान इज नेवर गोइंग टू हैपन. इट्स एन hallucination. You're not going to be, if you're looking for a hallucination, you might even get it, but it won't give you what you want. So what exactly are you seeking? What is it that's missing from your life that you're seeking? And what Gita is telling you is that what's missing is tranquility. It's not that I don't know how to deal with sukh and dukh. I want to have less dukh and not feel as dukhi as I used to. I want to reduce my level of dukh. None of those things. It's tranquility. And tranquility has no connection whatsoever with the outside world. None. It's got nothing to do with money, with everything else. That's what Gita is saying. It's not that it has little connection, that we give it more connection. It has no connection. That's what Gita is saying. That is why Jnani and Samsari are night and day. It's not like मैं संसारी हूँ थोड़ा कम बन जाऊँ संसारी. If I can manage my emotions better, if I can, not get so unhappy, if I can, do little less of this, then I'm a Jnani. No, no. It's not that. It's night and day. You are going after the wrong thing. You have to find that and go after the right thing. It's not that you start going after the wrong thing slowly. It's not like you reduce your speed in which you go to the wrong thing. You have to
But
change
that's not,
direction and go. Right.
but that's not going to happen. It is going to happen slowly. I mean, in very minute little
Yeah,
maybe
yeah, yeah.
details.
Correct. No, that's not. I mean, he's giving you the ultimate goal. He's just trying to say, like, what is it that you are, understand what you're seeking. Like, what are you really after, and how are you going to get it? Yes, in your life, in all our lives, it's going to happen slowly. We are going to make gradual changes, but that's what he's trying to say. That's why he used this metaphor. I also for a long time I wondered why does he use such dramatic language, like night and day. Like, can't he just? Then I
Right.
realized why. Because it is dramatic, you know. It is what it is. That's why he uses this language, and he's not being he's not exaggerating. He's just telling things as they are. We are not ready to hear them. That's our problem.
Nitu, can I ask one other thing? There's something you said at the beginning when
Right?
you were saying, what is Gita all about? And you said, uh, broadly, you do the right thing without expectation. But isn't the expectation that I will realize I'm Atma? Isn't the expectation self-knowledge? Isn't that why you're doing Karma Yoga?
Right. Yeah, that is, you have to do that. As long as you're samsari, you cannot do things without expectation.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
You can't say, you have to have some expectation. It's like the same thing as saying, what do I dwell upon? You can't not dwell upon something.
Yeah.
So, like what it's trying to say is don't have expectation for material
Okay.
things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So how do you not have material things expectation? You can't just say I will not have any expectation I'm doing. You have to have some expectation. So replace that expectation for material things by an expectation of self-knowledge. So that is again night and day. It's not as if you're going to reduce your expectation about life. No, it's not that. You're not saying today I'm expecting 5 houses, tomorrow I will expect only one kutia. That will be fine. It's not a reduction in your expectation from the world. It's a switch in your expectation from what you want from the world to self-knowledge. It's a complete switch.
Right. So
That's
it's a
all.
qualitative switch, not a quantitative switch.
Right. It's a switch. It's not a reduction. So you can only do that if you can have to have some expectation.
Yeah.
So if not material, then what? Then self-knowledge, right? Same thing dwelling on objects. So when he says don't dwell on objects, what do you dwell on? You dwell on Atma. Because you have to dwell on the mind is such that it has to dwell on something. The mind can't be, you can't have a vacant mind which is not dwelling on anything at all. You can have that for if you want to do Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you can do that for 5-10 minutes, or some, Sadguru can do it for 15 days. But after 15 days, again, it'll start dwelling on something.
So how do you keep dwelling on the mind?
How do you keep?
Dwelling on the mind.
On the Atma. You keep dwelling on the teachings, dwelling on the teachings of Gita, on what Gita is saying, on understanding yourself. Karam Yoga is very good that way. I told you, remember, that the way to do it is, um, you think about your day. At the end of the day or end of the week, you think about that week or day and see where where did things go wrong for you during the course of the day. Like, did you suddenly start getting anxious? Why? What was the cause of that anxiety? Or what was did you get angry? Why did anger come? You remember that process? Dwelling, say, leke, anger. So at some stage in our life, the destruction happens, all for all of us. So why did that destruction happen? Why did that anger happen? Trace it back. Like, what's the root cause of it? And even if you're not able to change, at least being aware is a big thing. See, because what happens is when we are not thinking like this, we have no doubt in our minds that my anger is legitimate. It's because the other person didn't behave properly. Like Vidur reminds me sometimes, being a therapist, he says in therapy, there's something called legitimate anger and non legitimate anger. So in our world, we say some anger is legitimate. Now, if, for example, uh, you know, somebody causes you damage, hurts you, steals from you, anybody would say getting angry at that person is legitimate. Why should I not get angry at that person? The person has offended me. I'm legitimately getting angry at him. But if you're walking on the street and somebody is in front of you and you don't see him and you hit him, let's say you're driving and you hit him, then you get angry. What the hell is he doing in the road in front of me? That everybody will say is illegitimate anger. Correct? So you can say, okay, I had illegitimate anger, that was wrong. But if someone hurt you and you got angry, you'd say that was legitimate anger. I don't have to analyze this anymore. That was legitimate anger, but not for a Karam Yogi. The Karam Yogi is not worried about legitimacy versus illegitimacy. The Karam Yogi is saying whether it was legitimate or not, it did
You got
ruin your
angry.
day. Yeah, it did ruin your day. It did lead to your self-destruction.
I have a question, Niku.
Yeah. So
So,
why did that legitimate anger even happen? That requires self-analysis and self-awareness. And that's what Karam Yoga bring is the starting point of Karam Yoga. That's how you get it. Yeah, right, Didi.
so, um, so, so sometimes when you're worried about something, it's about you're anxious about something because you feel that thing is going to imminently happen. So now I can't turn it off and say, well, God's going to take care of it. So let me not be anxious. So how do you address that?
And
Like,
exactly what you say. You say God will take care of it. Because
yeah, but
in any case, you can't address it. Something that is imminently going to happen, there's nothing you
yeah,
can do about it. Maybe there is, to the extent that you
maybe.
can do something about it, to the extent that you can do something about it, then do something about it. I'm just telling you what Gita will say. I've not reached there
Mm,
myself. Okay, just
right,
to
right,
be
right.
clear. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not a Jnani. Okay,
I understand.
I'm
But
just a
what's the
conduit.
answer from Gita then?
So
This
I'm going
is
to give you
okay.
Gita's answer, which is
Yeah.
this is where you have to do self-awareness, self-inquiry, because you are getting anxious because something bad is going to happen. So why? Because you think you have no control over that thing which is bad going to happen. If you had
Mm,
control, you wouldn't get anxious. If you had
right,
control, you'll just do it.
right,
It's because you don't have control that you're getting anxious.
right.
So the point to remember, if you remember Karam Yoga, is you never have control. You may have an illusion of control, but you don't actually have control. When you think you have control, even then, God is at play in a very big way. You have no control over your next sans, over your next breath. So this is how you got to. If you're objective about it, you'll realize that really speaking, all our life that we've been living, that we've grown this much, we've become this old, we have all this around us, is a big grace from God. It's not me by myself who's done this, you know. I mean, every so understanding this and knowing that if I don't have control, that's okay. There is something I can do. Let me focus on what I can do and leave the rest to God. That is what you have to do. Again, see, you're saying if you're getting anxious about something in your mind, when you're getting anxious about something that's going to happen, imminently going to happen, that's legitimate anxiety, right? You think it's legitimate to get anxious at that. It's within
Mm-hmm,
your rights to get anxious about it.
mm-hmm.
Nobody should tell you not to get anxious. Why? I bloody well will get anxious. This is going to affect me and I don't have any control over it. I will jolly well get anxious. It's legitimate. But that's not the way you can think about in Karam Yogi. In the Karam Yoga thing, you'll say, I'm spoiling my today, this moment, because of this anxiety. Legitimate
So
or
it's
not.
so it's ke sara sara, whatever shall be shall be.
Up to meaning, so again, it's not, remember the Karma Yoga thing. You should not be inactive. Don't be attached to inactivity. So if there are things you can do about it to prevent it from happening,
Do
you
it.
have to do it. Yes. That's the third part of that shlok, right? Very important part of that shlok. Part number three was don't be attached to inactivity. So you have to do whatever you can do to prevent that calamity from occurring.
No, but Didi says it's inevitable. It's going to happen.
But then
So
though, there
then
is no
there's
problem. If
then
it's
there's
going
no
to
no
happen,
then
then,
then there's
then
nothing then
No,
then
no,
let
I
it
didn't say
happen and
no,
don't affect
no,
you.
no,
वो भी बड़ा
wrong.
मुश्किल है.
I didn't
हाँ.
say it's inevitable. I said
Hmm.
it seems like imminent, but
imminent.
may or may not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
Us.
inevitable. The
See.
thing that is inevitable is not in my hands. But
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
thing that can happen is in my hands. That's imminent, probably. That's a probability.
But then you
Then
should,
I think we just hope for the best that it shouldn't happen. No?
Anyway, but Didi, the thing is, the first thing is to realize fully and completely that that anxiety is spoiling your moment.
True, absolutely true. Because nobody else is spoiling
Yeah.
except for you who's worrying. That is,
Yes.
I have
If
come to
you
that realization very clearly.
Yes, and that is the most important first step. Because
Yeah.
if you've come to realize that the anxiety is spoiling my moment, your concentration is going to be how do I get rid of that anxiety? That's what becomes your focus. It's not about what the other person is doing or not doing. That is not your focus anymore. Your focus is I want to get rid of my anxiety. And you will find a way. I'm pretty sure, you know. But people don't come to this realization. That's the problem. People don't realize and recognize that their anxiety is screwing up their day. They are in denial of their anxiety and they are blaming everything around them. That's what is happening, to us. That is the fate of a samsari. But if you are recognizing that my anxiety is spoiling my day and I have to do something about it, you've already taken your first step to Karma Yoga because you have stopped focusing on the world and now you're focusing on yourself. That is the first step to Karma Yoga. You're not going to blame Suresh Bhaiya, you're not going to blame me, you're not going to blame Billu, anybody for your anxiety. Now you're going to say, it's my problem. I need to deal with it. It's my anxiety. So that's a very big step.
Just saying accept it and move on for the solution. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying come to the, whether you accept it and move on or whether you want to do something about it is up to you and your nature and your personality. I'm just saying that if you recognize during the course of your day that, or thinking back on your life, that I get anxious and that anxiety is taking away from my tranquility and I want tranquility, but my anxiety is coming in the way. If you realize that, then you'll do something about your anxiety. And what you can do, there are multiple things you can do. You can figure out what you want to do about it, but one way to do it is deal with anxiety is to follow the precepts of Karma Yoga. And Karma Yoga says, try to come to the root cause. Try to address why that anxiety is happening. What is the expectation that you have that is causing anxiety? And in Didi's case, or in my case, I can talk about me. In my case, I have an expectation of control. That's what causes my anxiety. When I reach a situation where I have no control, when I find I can't do anything about it, I get anxious. And that's my problem. My problem, underlying problem is an expectation of control. Because I don't have trust. I don't have trust in God. I feel if I'm not taking care of things, the things will not get taken care of. That is a very wrong way to live life. I have to have trust in others. I have to have trust in God. Then my anxiety, my control thing will come down. My anxiety will come down. My tranquility will, whatever is the tranquility is not something that you have to get from outside. Tranquility is your nature. Tranquility will emerge. When the anxiety
And
goes down, tranquility emerges. It's nothing you don't have to do anything for tranquility.
it
Tranquility
could
is
also be the anxiety of not meeting somebody else's expectation,
okay. That could
right?
also be true. But then why? Like you have to then say, why is it that you want to meet that other person's expectation? Because you want that other person's approval. And you want that other person's approval because you disapprove of yourself in some way. You're looking for approval. You're looking for approval, otherwise you feel like not validated. You're looking for validation. And that's because in yourself, you're not completely convinced that you're okay.
But you could also be not that you are seeking approval, but it could also be that you want to give as much as you can rather than just seeking approval, right?
No,
It
that
could also
then I think
be,
that's a little iffy. You don't, I
oh,
mean,
I
if
don't
you
think
want to,
so.
if you want to give, there should be no anxiety. It's only when you are giving and you want something else in return, which you may not be acknowledging, and you don't get that expected return, that's when anxiety comes. Giving is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. But when it comes at creating anxiety for you, then it becomes, oh, can I do it or can I
That's what
not?
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
You know?
Anxiety, if you're saying that by giving you're getting anxious, most likely it is because by giving you're expecting something, which is why you're getting anxious. If you were only giving without expectation, right, then you wouldn't be anxious. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, this is the kind of thinking or reasoning we need to do,
To
or
ourselves.
one, well, I wouldn't say we need to do. This is one way of approaching karma yoga. The other could be, there could be people who don't want to reason. They say, the hell with reasoning. I just believe in God. God will take care. Baat khatam. They are lucky ones. They're the lucky ones. They can, they are not going to get anxious. They are going to say, ये सब ईश्वर के ऊपर है ना, भगत होते हैं. They are like that. They just say, I don't give a shit. I mean, God will
Which
take
is
care.
अच्छा.
that's really the easier approach.
Yeah, if you are, but you can't change yourself. If you are the kind of
No, you
person
can't.
who thinks through
It's true.
things and who wants reason and conviction, then you're stuck with your own self. Nothing we can do about it.
Niti, can I ask another question? You know how you had said once when we started Gita, I don't know why it's so difficult, that the final vision is being presented to begin with, right? In chapter two.
The
And
final
then
vision is
the final vision is presented in chapter two when you
right.
start on
Correct,
211.
correct.
And then we do Karma Yoga. But could the reason for that be because you need to have, whether or not you firmly believe in the final vision, you need to have that
Yeah, you
in
need to
your
have a
mind
vision. Yeah,
in
yeah,
order to
right.
do Karma Yoga.
Correct, correct. I mean, you need to have that. I need to have that. But there could be people who don't have the final vision and still do Karma Yoga. They may have a different final vision also. They may have, there are many people. That's why I was trying to say that, last time we were talking in that satsang group, that Karam Yoga is something which is a plug-in. You don't have to have the vision of one Atma in order to be a
Mm.
Karam, right? That's what I was saying. Okay. Shall we do the next one or that next time?
Hmm.
Okay. We have time?
Yes.
बिल्लू नींद तो नहीं आ रही?
नहीं नहीं बिल्कुल भी नहीं.
Okay. Okay, then let's do the next one, which is another very famous one. Okay. The chapter 2 is full of very nice shlokas. So this one says, so apuryam, okay, apuryaman, so apuryamanam achala pratishtham. So apuryamanam achala pratishtham. So apuryamanam means something which is purna, which is full to the brim, like completely full, like a cup which is brimming over, is apuryamanam. Like it's पूर्ण का मतलब होता है, पूर्ण का मतलब होता है fullness, right? Achala means जो चलता नहीं है, which is not restless, which is still. Pratishtham is also the same thing, still. So achala pratishtham means still. So he is describing something which is full to the brim, apuryamanam, and achala pratishtham, samudram. He is saying that is a samundar, an ocean. The ocean is apuryamanam, achala pratishtham. You can see the ocean. It is full to the brim always, big. And although there are waves on the surface, the ocean is still. It's many, many, many miles deep. And the waters are still. Apaha pravishanti yadvat. So apaha is water. Pravishanti means enter. So yadvat means just as. Just as when the water from a river enters into an ocean, nothing happens to the ocean. It remains still. Its level doesn't go up because a river is entered, nor does its level go down because a river did not enter, right? So that's what he's describing is as a samundar. So just like that, tadvat kama yam pravishanti sarve sa shante mapnoti na kama kami. So he's saying just like that, when in a wise person, in a jnani, objects of desire enter, this world enters, मैंने देखा beautiful things around me, lovely food to eat, beautiful people, nice scenery, all these objects of desire, things that I want. When they enter into a jnani, nothing happens to the jnani. The jnani doesn't get excited, doesn't get restless. He's like the samundar. Just like when rivers enter the samundar is still still. वो एंटर करे ना करे कोई बात नहीं, समुद्र is still. A jnani is tranquil, whether or not objects of the world are entering or not entering. A jnani remains tranquil. This is very nice and very well known also because it gives you such a wonderful analogy, right? It's not saying that a jnani goes and sits in the Himalayas and away and cuts himself from the world. No. Gita says again and again and again, there are many, many such shloks where it says the jnani stays in this world. The jnani just doesn't respond to the world the way a samsari responds to the world. That's the difference. Okay. So now this one, in this one also, although he doesn't say it, Swami Dayanand explains this very nicely. He says, you can be like a samundar or you can be like a pond. A pond is a spot of a talab. Now what happens to the pond? If the rainwater doesn't feed the pond regularly, or some stream doesn't stream the pond can get dry. Right? उसका water level keeps going up and down. जब बारिशें होती हैं तो pond ऊंचा हो जाता है. In fact, when the floods are there, the pond gets hidden. You can't even see the pond. It overflows its banks and floods. But when there is no rain, the pond is gone. But have you ever seen an ocean dry out because there is no rain? Can you imagine that the ocean will get dry? Ocean is the one that causes the rain in the first place. So if nothing will happen to the ocean, ocean will remain the ocean. In a pond, if you suddenly have lot of water flowing in, you have a new stream, correct? A stream is like a sense object, is what he's comparing it to. So if you have a new stream going into a pond, the pond will start overflowing. It'll have waves up and down. Pond is a poor little thing. It can be here today, gone tomorrow. It is not achala. It is not achala pratishtam. It is chala, very much restless. Right? It's not a manam because it's not full to the brim all the time. That's what a pond is. That's what a samsari is. To a samsari, when objects of desire go in, when the samsari sees the objects of desire, the samsari reacts. He reacts with either attraction and love and lust, or reacts with repulsion. This thing I like, I want. This thing I hate, I don't want. You react with anger, you react with love. You have a lot of reaction to things of the world around you. So that's not an achala pratishtam situation. But a jnani is like a samundar, like an ocean. That jnani doesn't get affected by what the objects are. So when you live in the world as a jnani, it's not that you're going to cut off from the world. You'll be smiling, you'll be tranquil, you'll be playing around in the world, you'll be chatting, you'll be doing everything. You won't be able to tell this person is a jnani just by looking at the person because the person is reacting just fine. But inside the jnani, there is tranquility, there is sthirata, there is achala pratishtham, right? There is apurya mana, like fullness. But outside, there is no difference between the jnani and a samsari. So हमने से you'll see you'll say what a wonderful person, कितना calm है, कितना control में है, because that's a show. Inside, the mind is going like this all the time. You're getting anxious all the time. You're getting like restless all the time. You come home and at your wife or your husband, you will let it all out, right? But that's kind of what the state of a samsari is, which is like a pond. We are all sort of like that. And then the state of the jnani is like a samundar. So this is a nice analogy. Okay, I think we should leave it at this because people are in different varying states of drowsiness, I can see.
Who? Not me. For everybody else, it's din.
Yes, for you, you're
I'm
like a
both
Jnani,
behind
Bindu.
you.
For us, it's day.
I'm wide awake.
Yes. What's night for you is day for us.
But just out of interest, are there any Gyanis in this world?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure there are.
You're looking at one who's giving you all the lectures.
No, no. I think all these Swamis, like Swami Dayanand Saraswati, I don't know whether I didn't meet him, but I've read him a lot. He's my sort of my guru in a way. I think he's a Jnani. He's like he seems to me, when I look at him or look at his life, he seems to be a person who's happy with himself. He's done a lot. He's set up so many institutions. He's, done so much, written so many books. All this I'm telling you is after reading his books, right? It's things that he's saying that I'm parroting out. I'm understanding, of course. I'm understanding it and then parroting out, because it's not possible to just parrot out without understanding. But that person is, to me, he's a Jnani.
Was that, which Swamiji is that?
Swami Dayanand
Like,
Saraswati.
Meeta, are you asking because you think it's impossible what Nittu has described for a Jnani is impossible? It's
I
impossible for a human being to be like that?
today's world, yes, I find it very important, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be very honest, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
I
I think
think
that's why
99% people are not.
I've joined these classes just to have a better understanding of life and yeah, to be so just I was very curious to know that do Gyanis exist in this world? Because I
Meeta, see, what happens is, like, at our stage, in different stages in our life, we interact with different kinds of people. So when we are young, like I'll tell you, when I was young too, I wasn't thinking about moksha. I was thinking about settling in America, about my job. There were a lot of things in front of me. Like, you have to set up yourself where you are to establish yourself. Your your whole life revolves around that. The people that you interact with, the people I interacted with, were like that. The conversations we had were like that, right? But the world is very big, and whatever our state of mind is, we will find people like that in the world. And then we'll say, okay, the world is like that now. Now, for example, through this uh, process, a lot of the people I'm meeting are people who are interested in the Gita or Vedanta. And they may be 0.01% of the world's population, but it just so happens that they are 50% of my interactions right now, right? Which is just because of the way I am, because of my interest. So for me, it is not difficult to believe that there are Gyanis, honestly. In fact, I feel like it doesn't matter whether it was the previous Purana Janam, Kal Yug or Satyug or whatever, it doesn't matter. It is, there are people, uh, few, but there are people who are interested. And it's a natural evolution. That's how I feel. But I can totally understand that you can't feel that way right now, just because of where you are and the stage of life that you're in.
yeah.
But what you can feel, Mita, what you can do is, even if forget about Gyani, who's like the end state, where the person is not at all affected by things. What you can do is, you can still control your own emotions and your own reactions, even if it is a relative amount, even if you can reduce, let's say you have anxiety, even if you can reduce it to some extent, or if you can control yourself a little bit more, that itself is going to help you in your life where you are right now.
And by control, you just take deep breaths, or how do you control?
If you are doing it by the way of Vedanta, by the way of Gita, then Gita gives many different ways in the Gita. So it
Okay.
tells you there's a way to control through meditation. That is one way, by taking deep breaths. Another is to control through introspection. By introspection, I mean you try to see, like, why is it that you get anxious? what is causing that anxiety to you. And everybody is different. And for some people, Gita says you control by surrender to God. So, the three ways Gita gives, one is bhakti, the other is dhyan, meditation, and the third is karam, right? By doing and thinking and doing things differently. So, by the karam, it says, and depends on who you are, what is your like natural tendency. So, for example, if you are the kind of person who really has a lot of faith in God, who believes in God, then go that path and try to talk to God, have a conversation with God, and say, Bhagwan, आपने मुझे ये दिया है, this I like, this I don't like, give me this. Talk to God, thank Him for what He's given you, ask Him for what you don't have, right? And say, my relationship with God is going to be as real as my relationship with Raju, for example. That's one. Or you can say, through Karam Yoga, it means that all the things that you're doing, do it for, maybe to make it easier, do it for the other person. Do it for your children, do it for your husband. That will reduce your anxiety. That's one way.
For yourself to give you happiness.
Yes, it will give you happiness, but you're doing it for others. You're doing it as a service to others. So that's another simplistic way of thinking about Karma Yoga. And then the meditation part is also there. It says, you can also meditate. Think about something pleasant. And chapter 6 of the Gita describes this meditation. So it talks about how you can, it gives you the process of how to meditate. Sit down in one place, think about one thing, uh, try to try to keep your mind steady. Because it's like a muscle. When we say if we have to make our arms stronger, we have to lift weights. Our arm is weak, so it's very hard to lift weight. But the more weight you lift, the stronger your arm will become. So our mind is weak, so it goes all over helter skelter. The more we make it stay in one place, the stronger the muscle will become to keep it there, and you will be able to keep it there. So these are all various methods that Gita has given for doing what for someone like you who's less interested in self knowledge and all that, but more interested in just getting a better handle on your life around you just now. Kind of bring a
Yes,
little more peace in the life, right?
right, right.
So that is very much part of Gita.
Mita, I also used to have the same question.
Really?
Long time. Yeah. Yeah. I used to think, oh, why are all the Gyanis, why were they all in an ancient past? Why aren't there any in the world now?
The
But
present.
there are now also. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope to meet one soon. Like, of course, I'm seeing one, but I hope to meet one soon.
Yeah.
No, no. You need to meet an actual Gyani, not a sort of a
So the process has begun
make
by
believe
joining.
make believe Gyani.
I've taken the first step. So
Yes. Yeah, yeah. No, no. It's a very good thing. It's a very good thing. And the beauty about Gita is that that is another reason why it is so popular, is it has something for everybody. Whatever stage of life in you are, as long as you are interested in dharma, as long as you're interested in doing the right thing, Gita has something for you. You know,
right.
different people are in different stages. They expect different things from Gita. They get different things from Gita. So right now you'll read the Gita, you'll get one thing. After 20, 30 years, you may get something completely different. You'll say, "Oh, I missed that. How did I miss that?" You know, it was always there.
Right. Great.
Any other discussion points?
I think enough to ponder about.
Okay.
Gita seems very, very black and white sometimes. Like there's no, human beings aren't like that.
Some
I mean, you see, again, Kiki, this is about how you are. The way that you are, the way you think, right, is the way you'll see that reflected. That's what you will see. I think Gita is black and white for a purpose. Because what it's telling you is black and white.
Hmm.
And like, for example, if it says the goal I know we were talking about it the other day too. You said, the goal doesn't have to be, you're very comfortable with haziness. What Gita is telling you is don't be hazy, be very, very clear. Be very clear about the goal. Be very clear about the path. That is, and for me, that works for me. That's how I think that is the only way to get somewhere, by clarity, right? So that is not a black and white thing. That is a recommendation by the Gita, which may be different from the way you feel right now. So you see, look at it from an open mind.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, my goal is not tranquility. It has always been self-knowledge, has been my goal. But I think that the what I was trying to say is that the way we get there is not one clear-cut path. Like a lot of things work in conjunction that we can't, our mind changes. That goal is clear, but you're exposed to so many things and you make so many connections, and you can't anticipate all the connections that are going to happen in your mind that will get you there. So it's not like step one, step two, step three. Step one and step two may be working in a feedback loop,
Yeah.
Self-knowledge and karma yoga. So that is what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
But do you think that's accurate or not?
I mean, it depends on what you're seeing, how you read and see the shlokas of the Gita. If you just sort of take them exactly the word by word, maybe that's true. But if you look at the intent behind it, if you understand how they were written, I think, like for example, you'd say this thing about night and day. Does it seem like too black and white for you? The shlok of night and day?
No, that doesn't seem too black and white.
Okay, okay.
But the thing about don't dwell, the
Yes,
things that have to do with the mind,
yeah,
the things that are more in the realm of almost therapy, those things seem too black and white, and not, it just seems to me at this stage where I am, and I'm probably wrong, that giving somebody an instruction like that, it just will bounce right off. Nothing is going to penetrate because it's not reaching them where they are.
yeah. So that's the fault of the teacher, because no, because like remember Billu also said, or Madhu Didi said कि like भगवान कृष्ण कह रहे हैं कि मेरे को पूजो, मेरे को, so that seems like you feel like, who is this person? He's saying, give everything to me, right? But that's an interpretation issue. If you just listen, if you
Hmm.
just see the words, it seems as if he's saying, surrender to me. But if you understand the intent, like he is looking at Arjun sees him as Ishwar,
Mhm.
because otherwise Arjun would never have said, show me your true roop.
Mm.
Right? He said, show me your actual roop. That means show me your roop as Ishwar. So he sees him as Ishwar. So you have to first see Bhagwan Krishna as Ishwar.
Mm.
Then you will get the proper message of Gita. So if I don't expose you to that and I just show you that, that means I'm not doing a good job, because I have to first ready you as a person who understands that Bhagwan Krishna is Ishwar.
Mm.
Right? Similarly, you have to be ready about other things also. The recommendations too, they are bouncing off because your ego, or I mean yourself, or all of us, not just you, it
Mm.
springs up and says, who is this person to tell me this is not right? So there, it's a preparation of the person who's receiving, looking to the Gita, rather than the Gita itself.
Mhm.
Because these are words, you can never, anything you say or write, you can always find something with
Yeah.
it. If
Yeah.
that if it had been too soft, then you would have said, "Oh, yeah, this is too soft." If it's like
Yeah.
that's how it happens. These are words,
The only reason I'm airing it is really not to find error with the Gita, but to say what doesn't work for me right now. And I agree with you that I have to focus on what am I missing? And that's what I focus on.
right? Okay, chalo.
Mm.
All right then.
Meet up
Okay.
soon.
Thank you.
See you.
Good
Okay,
night.
bye bye.
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 Namaste.
Bye.